Hello, my name is Joe, and today I'm going to share my application of the health belief model to my learning of this week's lesson. So, the health belief model construct I'm focusing on is called perceived barriers. In the context of the building resilience, how to embrace and use criticism lesson, perceived barriers means identifying the barriers that might prevent me from accepting feedback, such as fear of failure, ego interference, or perfectionism. So, this activity requires me to list any barriers that prevent me from embracing feedback, reflect on how these barriers might hold me back, and consider how I can overcome them. So, the first reflection question is, what internal barriers, such as fear of failure, defensiveness, or perfectionism, make it difficult for you to accept feedback? So, one internal barrier that I've had trouble with when it comes to accepting feedback is defensiveness. So, when I'm being corrected, I sometimes feel like I'm being criticized, which makes me want to justify my actions or explain why I did something in a certain way instead of listening openly. So, this defensiveness makes it hard to accept that my technique might actually need improvement. And the second reflection question is, how does your ego or desire to protect yourself, your self-image, interfere with your ability to embrace constructive criticism? So when it comes to feedback from friends, colleagues, or people I'm usually around, I generally don't have a hard time accepting it. I'm usually able to take it in stride because I just don't feel as much pressure to prove myself to anybody. However, like with my parents, I struggle more to embrace constructive criticism. So the third reflection prompt is, in what ways have these barriers held you back from learning or growing, either personally or professionally? So personally, I'd say these barriers have slowed down some of my growth, especially when it comes to relationships. Like, for example, just with my parents, my defensiveness has sometimes made it harder to truly hear their advice or feedback. Instead of taking their input as helpful, I've been more focused on protecting how they see me, which has probably caused me to miss out on some good insights. And the last reflection prompt is, what specific strategies can you adopt to overcome these barriers and be more open to feedback in the future? So, to overcome these barriers and be more open to feedback, I'd like to try being more mindful that feedback is meant to help me improve, not to highlight my shortcomings. I want to shift my mindset to see it as something positive and constructive. If I recognize that the intent behind it is to build me up rather than tear me down, I think I can stop taking it personally and start engaging with it more thoughtfully. So, thanks for joining me as I model this process, and good luck with your reflections.